man. I think I'm still on a, you know,
Okay.
when Tiger Bomb was on, you guys like had this lighting and you had all.
Oh yeah, that's Norm's den. That's our rehearsal space. That's in my house. It's like an old man cave, like from the probably the late 70s or 80s. And I have it all done up with all these cool lights. You should see it now. It's amazing. Pinball machines, that's where we
Wow.
practice. Yeah. You gotta have ambiance, you
So
know.
if you're listening, I know most of the people that tune into this podcast listen, and some will go on YouTube and watch the interviews. But for Lynda Mandolyn, you got to go to YouTube too. So you got to see what's going on.
Absolutely.
She's got it all going on, man.
I try.
So this it was Thanksgiving a thing for you? I mean, what do you do on Thanksgiving?
Well, was watching the Lions game. Go Lions. They're 11-1 now.
I've
First
got
time,
I've
first,
got the Lions fever. I've always liked
oh,
Jared
good,
Goff. I've always liked Goff, and I was so happy.
good.
I like Stafford too, your old quarterback, but
Yeah.
Goff is brings some youth and exuberance to the whole thing.
Oh my God. And their running backs, Gibbs and
Listen to
Montgomery,
you.
my two
Listen to
favorite guys.
you. Listen to you, the football fan. Wow.
Well, just Detroit Lions. I mean, I've been a fan since I was a little kid, since 1980. So we're talking Gary Danielson was the quarterback. He had the number 16 jersey like Goff has now. And Billy Sims. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I hope Alvin Long pays attention to this show because he's my really close Detroit. I have a lot of Detroit friends, Anthony Kaczynski.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people from
Yes. And
Detroit.
Troy Gregory.
Yeah,
Yes.
Troy. Well, the guy I was
Yeah.
talking about the ones here, but Troy's probably my closest. Well, Alvin and
Yeah.
Troy are close friends. I've been friends with them for a while. But Detroit has never won a Super Bowl, right?
No, never. And this is the first time they have been. Well, they just became 11-1. So the first time they were 10-1 last week was the first time since 1934.
Wow.
So this we're talking, almost 90 years. We've never won a Super Bowl. We've been in the playoffs a couple of times. And it's very when they start screwing up or whatever, you get deep Lions fans get mega PTSD. And I got that on Thanksgiving, but they pulled off the win.
Oh, that was the ending. You should send the quarterback for the Bears a thank you letter. I don't know what the heck he was thinking at the end of that
Yeah,
game. That was
I
wacky.
know. Well, him and I think the management too. I mean, the
Well, the
management.
coach got fired the next day, so they
Did he
they
really? Oh my
yes, he did.
God.
So they really botched that. But
Wow.
Detroit fans have always been interesting to me because, aside from the Pistons and the Tigers won a couple World Series here and there, Detroit's had to deal with a lot of really bad teams.
Yes.
Oh, the Red Wings actually won a couple Stanley Cups.
Oh yeah, they were hot for
Yeah.
many years. But when I was very, very little, like in the 1970s, they used to call them the Dead Wings
Yeah,
because they
well,
never won anything, right?
I
Um,
want you to know, I mean, I grew up a Patriot fan, of course, but I didn't really like the Patriots when they had, Brady and Belichick. I just don't like those guys. I always liked Green Bay. I was like a Packers fan too. But
yeah.
now I'm rooting for Detroit.
Thank you. Yes,
I
me too.
want, I'd love to see the Lions against everyone thinks it's going to be the Lions and the Chiefs, but I'd love to see Buffalo get in there. So you have two teams that have never won a Super Bowl in the Super Bowl.
That would
That's,
be, yes, that
yeah,
would be way great. Yes.
because Buffalo, go ahead, sorry.
I'm such an Uber fan right now. I'm trying to get tickets, fly out to San Francisco and see the 49ers and the Detroit Lions play. And I lived in the Bay Area for 18 years. That'll be tough, but I will, of course, root for the Lions.
We know you lived in the Bay Area because you're such a fabulous disaster.
Oh, thank you. Of course.
This is interesting because I got to ask you this. You're living in Portland, Maine now.
Yes,
And you're like, we've talked about this before. I've lived all over the country too, but you lived mostly in Portland, San Francisco, and Detroit, right?
correct.
Okay, what's it like living in Portland, like compared to what it was like living in like San Francisco and Detroit? What's the differences of these three cities? I know Portland's smaller, but it's still a city.
Sure, sure. Well, I mean, kind of the reason we left San Francisco was, it was just getting too crowded, right? And the commutes were hell, you know. And it's just nice to have some space. We live right in Portland, right on the ocean. And we just, we came here at the right place at the right time. And now Portland is kind of like San Francisco Junior. It's like, the amazing restaurants and the art scene is getting better, the music scene is getting better. It's still hard to find shows, like it is across the country. Clubs open and close all the time. But it's easier to park, right?
Oh, I bet.
And, you get a little older and you appreciate, kind of like, hey, I have a little driveway, right? Hey, I have room to walk around, and it's just the little things you appreciate. And I really struck gold when I moved out here and found the music people that I did, you
I
know.
gotta say, I like all three of those places, by the way. When I lived in LA for a long time, I used to go up to the Bay Area. I loved it. I used to love those walks. In fact, I remember one time I was there because you're friends with Lee Harrington. I was there with the neighborhoods and they were playing this big radio convention that was going on. This is like around 91. And I was with them, and I remember going for this walk with David Minahan and Lee and my friend Kim Sanderson. The four of us walked like up and down all these hills, and we
Yeah,
were we went everywhere. We spent one whole day just walking. It's a great place to walk around.
amazing.
And
Yes.
then Detroit, it's darker, but it's still cool. I've got a lot of friends there too, and I like Detroit. It's, we don't walk around as much in the downtown area.
Well, now, I mean, Detroit has really gone through an amazing renaissance. There's a lot of money flowing into Detroit right now. Google, Whole Foods, a lot of
That's great.
yeah, a lot of companies and businesses, and of course, the art scene and the music scene are just always top notch. It's my favorite music city in the world. It always will be. There's just nothing like it. And to grow up in that scene really helped me just grow as a person. And so many great, personal life stories, I mean, playing in the late 80s and 90s in Detroit was not easy. But it was a phenomenal time. It was wonderful.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you, I've said this many times, I'll say it again. Boston and Detroit have always been my two favorite music cities. And then, LA and New York, but those two right there,
yeah,
just Seattle too, Seattle's really always been really good. And the city, San Francisco, call it the
yeah,
city. And
right.
but getting back to Portland, I was close with I don't know if you know Patty Griffin is singer-songwriter. She was
I've heard her name. I don't know her.
she won a Grammy when Dixie Chicks made a hit, won a Grammy on one of her songs that she wrote. But she was
Okay.
on A&M when I worked for A&M, and we were close for a little while. And she was living in Portland, and I went up there and hung out with her, and I really liked Portland. But that was 1994.
Very different.
Yeah, so
Very different.
it was still cool. There was that part of town where all the breweries were just starting to open, and there was Bull Moose was down there. I don't know what that area is called, East Portland maybe, or
Um,
West or South or North. I don't know.
yeah, like Munjoy Hill.
Yeah,
And
she
yeah.
lived on a hill, and we walked right down,
Okay.
and then there was a strip with all the breweries and
Ah,
restaurants and everything. But that was like 30 years ago. But I liked it.
yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's very, very different now. I mean, just so many restaurants, tons of breweries. I mean, every and lots of pot places, like every corner.
Oh, it's legal in Maine too, huh?
Oh yeah, yes.
Yeah, Mass is
Yeah.
like that now. It doesn't matter where you are, you'll find a dispensary. They're all over. But I was in LA for 3 weeks in October, and that's
Yeah.
it's even more insane out there, you know?
Oh, yes, yes. But I still love it. I still love it. It's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
place to visit. Yeah,
No, I
I miss
mean insane with the weed. I love LA. It was like great. People keep bad mouthing LA, but it's really exaggerated. I really feel that way. I mean, I love it there.
yes.
It
I do
kind of
too.
depends on where you are, you know. It's a big,
Sure.
big place. Just
Yeah.
like Detroit, just like Portland, just like San Francisco, just like Boston, you know.
Yeah. You got
Yeah.
your areas, you got your neighborhoods.
What about the Portland music scene? I mean, I know you're in some pretty well-known bands up there, you know, Crystal Canyon especially, and uh,
Tiger
I
Bomb.
keep, I'm sorry, I think I have like some kind of a turkey hangover going on or something.
No.
You know, and I was a vegetarian for a long time, but I started eating turkey and chicken. I don't know why, but maybe I'll go back to being a
I know.
vegetarian.
I hear you. I hear you.
It's
Um,
hard to stay away when you go to a family house and they have all this food, you know? It's like, all
oh, I
right.
know.
So,
You gotta eat.
yeah, besides Tiger Bomb and Crystal Canyon, I mean, what else is going on up there for music?
Um, there's some good bands. I'm closer to the Boston musicians, which we'll get into later, because of a certain person. But it's good. There's a great band up here called The Worst. They're great. They play Boston quite a few times. One of my
Let me
favorite,
guess, they're a punk band.
a little bit.
I
Uh,
used to know a punk band called The Worst in Worcester. That was in a
oh,
long time ago. I didn't know there was another Worst, but that's a good
yeah.
name. Good
Yeah, for
name.
sure. The worst. Um, they're pretty good. The Bumbling Woo-Ha's, though, they're great. We had them open when Stupidity played up here a few years back. And they're like conceptual art rock. You
Say
know,
the name again.
the Bumbling Woo-Ha's.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yes. Yeah, I'd say they're my favorite. I mean, they're like,
Really?
yeah, they're really arty, and they only play a few times a year, but their performances are really special and unforgettable. They all dress up, they get friends to hold signs and, run around the audience, and it's very interactive, and I love that. It's not your typical, rock band, one, two, three, four, whatever. Not that that's bad. But yeah, they're really cool and special. They're really different. So I'd say that
Wow. So there is a good scene happening up there.
it's good. Yeah.
What
Yes.
about the rooms? A lot of good rooms to play.
Um, well, one of my favorite rooms kind of closed down to bands, but they're still doing recording and rehearsal, and that was called Suntiki Studios.
Yeah, yeah, I know the place. Yeah.
Yeah, and just a
They
great,
no
great
more
sound.
live music?
No,
Wow.
I'm not sure why, but Ian had it going for like 6 or 7 years, and he brought up some amazing bands. He loved the Boston music scene, and he'd bring up all kinds of artists, like from all over. And he's just a really great supporter of the arts, and the music scene. But he's still running the studio, and you can practice there and you can record there.
That's awesome. I'm glad you like Portland.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Seems like a good place to settle down.
Yeah, yeah, it's good.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you've already been on the wild side of life, you know, in Detroit and
Yeah.
San Francisco.
Everyone's like, you should write a book. And I'm like, maybe I will one day.
Yeah, I
Better
mean
hurry.
those are great places to have lived. I didn't live in either one of them, but I've lived in some fun places too. But I've been to both of them a lot. Portland I haven't been to in a while, but
Yeah.
one of these days I keep threatening to go up there. And I think
Yeah.
I told you I lived in the woods for a year in Elliott, Maine.
Oh, really?
I did. I lived in Elliott for one
Wow.
year. It was 2011. I was going through a really weird period of my life, and I ended up living out there. And it's weird because it's only 10 miles from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is a cool little
Right.
town.
Oh
But
yeah.
when you go out, if you go 10 miles out, you're in the
You're in the
middle of the
woods.
woods.
Yeah, right.
So I saw all kinds of animals and it was really fun. And it kind of gave me like the winter was a little rough though, I remember. It's a little
Oh,
rough.
I'm sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
But
it's a cool little place. It's near Kittery. And
yes.
Kittery has some really good restaurants and it's like a very cool little town. I love stopping by there and there's a noodle place there that I love going to. Anu or something. But it's great. Yeah.
Hey,
Great food.
do you ever go to Portsmouth? Because that's a really good place too. I really like Portsmouth.
Oh yeah, I love Portsmouth and we've played the press room before.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bunch of times. So where else did we play? That might be the only place in Portsmouth. We played Dover a couple times. New
Well,
Hampshire. One time we played there with the Love Me Nots.
oh,
Yeah, that
wow.
was great. That was great.
Nicole and Christina, they're
They're
doing
ripping it
so
up.
great with the darts. The darts have been they must have spent the
Love
whole
them.
summer in Europe. I
I
mean,
know. I followed them on Instagram and I used to do tours like that and those aren't easy. And I don't know how they do it. They're beautiful, they're in shape, but the older you get, the harder it is.
they have a different guitar player every time they tour. She's really, it's like been a revolving door of guitar players, but somehow she keeps it going.
Yeah.
Nicole is a fireball, let me tell you.
Yes. Yes. I
I
respect
love
her
her.
so much. I do too. I love her and I love the music and just, following them, through that whole tour was just brought back a lot of memories. And I can just imagine, the sweat and well, back in my day when I toured, it was people were still smoking in clubs. So you would reek of like, cigarettes, sweat, beer, toilet kind of stuff, and just come home like, "Bleh," not washing your hair for 10 days. It was great.
I remember that. I remember that. I think I'm,
Yeah.
yes, I do. I mean, I used to look, the place that I always think about is CBG because the one year went there many years, but in 86 and 87, when I was living in the Lower East Side, I was literally at CBGB's all the time. And that's the epitome of what you're talking about.
Yes.
But
Yes.
best sound system around too, and just loved it there, man. Loved it. Um,
Great.
okay, so now you always have a lot going on. You were on the show in July. It wasn't that long ago when you had
Yeah.
just put out, okay, here we go again, Steve, with the pronunciation. Bilou Do.
BA do.
Wow, I really botched that again. B.A. Do, which you co-wrote with Anthony Kaczynski, who we were talking about. Is he from the same part? You're from Royal Oak, right?
I am from Royal Oak. I think Anthony is from Sterling Heights, if I'm correct. I think so. Um, yeah, very working class town. It's very different now. It went to Trump, and
Of course it
yeah, and it's very different. I'll just say that Royal Oak is still cool and it's different than when I grew up for sure, but everything changes, right? And it's still a great place to go and go back,
I
and
saw Anthony about 2 weeks ago. I went to the Chris Anzalone's record store, and Anthony was working the counter. It was it
yeah,
was great, Stereo Jacks. It was great seeing Anthony. And we hung out for a while. The Tom Wilson, who's a roadie, who's a good friend of mine, who toured with The Cure, Depeche Mode, tons of bands. He was there with me and Chris and his wife Ruth and Anthony, and the five of us had such a blast in that
love it.
record store. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and he
great.
he knows his stuff. Anthony knows his music for
And
sure.
the reason why we're talking about it is he co-wrote that track with you.
Well, I gave him 5%. I mostly wrote it.
5%.
Yeah, he threw in a couple of chords, but I wrote most of it just to clarify.
Wow,
But
that was nice of you to give him a credit because nobody, Other
I
than,
know.
well, now everyone knows about the 5%, but before that, everyone would have been, oh, they co-wrote a song together, Anthony and Lynda, it's like, oh, they're working together,
Well, just for that. But Anthony's very busy. Like he's in the Magnetic Fields and he does Fire King and all those great bands. So,
I've been listening to a lot of Fire King lately, but there's a little conflict going on, unfortunately, within the band. I'm sure you know about that.
I hear things.
They don't talk to each other, which is going to be hard to have a band if you don't talk to each other. I'm sure you've probably been there.
Oh, yes, sure, sure.
Um, so you're with Rumbar Records now, but before we get to Rumbar, I know you want to talk about this because I believe that Justine Covault, who was the one that introduced us, by the way, you have a new three-song maxi single coming out on Rumbar.
Yes.
Little Dreamer and I Know How You Love Me, which we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that song because I love that song, are on it. And you're dedicating it to Justine?
Yes. It came about probably, well, I'd say like, geez, 6 or 7 months before she passed. And we were always very tight and close, and we always kept in touch, always talking about music, doing shows, all that great stuff. And she wrote me an email one day and just said, she loved a lot of aspects about Crystal Canyon and the whole ethereal, David Lynch kind of approach to music. And she knew I really loved girl band, girl groups of a certain era, late 50s, early 60s. And she said, Lynda, I would love to do our own version of I Love How You Love Me. And that just knocked me to the floor. I'm like, oh my God, yes, that's like one of my favorite songs from that era. I love the Pair of Sisters, and it was a smash hit for them. It's so beautiful. It goes back to a different time, way before you and I, and just the innocence of that time and the beauty of the melody. And so we traded notes back and forth, on Gmail there, and a couple months passed and we were both getting kind of busy. Justine was busy doing, still doing the label stuff, and she was getting ready to put out her own CD, right? And that was Justine. She always put other musicians and bands before her own, before her
Yeah.
own things. She really lifted us all up, made this beautiful community. And, so we kept in touch, and I told her I understood and all that. And then I went to her CD release party, that was the last time I saw her. And then, literally 6 days later, she passed away. And I thought about it, and, a couple weeks went by and I was just in a very deep depression. It took me about a year, just to really grieve her. And it still goes on, you know. But there came a point where I thought, I have to do this. I have to do this for her. Get your ass out and, book some studio time. And get the people that she loved and admired. So I got Jessica from Tiger Bomb. She's a great drummer, and she played on Be a Do and Little Dreamer with me. And so I just love that. Our all of us in Tiger Bomb have a great connection, but I just love her style, and I wanted her to be with this to be on this with me again. And then I approached Shauna Carmody of the Swirlies, and
I have a Swirlies poster. That was there the last time we
I say
talked, but
that.
then it was gone, but now it's back. That was a coincidence, I assure you.
Okay. Hey, it's meant to be. So I approached Shauna, and I both Justine and I loved her in her Red on Red Records band, Night Spell. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they put out three or four really great singles. They were like my favorite of what year did they come out? The years just blur by now. I think it was 2002. Um, and they played a few shows. I don't think they're playing anymore, but I approached her and she said she would play on this with me and sing with me.
Wow.
Um, and then I got Kate B, who is a phenomenal musician here in Portland. She played synths. She played an old analog 1970s synthesizer in the studio to kind of mimic the string sounds of the original.
Did you do this with Todd? Todd
I did it
Hutchison
with Todd.
Studio? Yeah, okay.
Yes. But the engineer was Alice Anderson, who is a dear friend of mine. And then my husband Serge played bass, and he had a great feel for it, and I think he played a Fender Bass 6 on this. So just to
Wow.
make it, authentic, right? And so I played guitar and sung lead and harmony vocals. Shauna sang backup and harmony vocals with me, and it just turned out to be magical. Like I say in the one sheet, there was so much love in the room when we recorded that, for Justine. And it just turned out so, I'm just so proud of it. And, hopefully everybody will love it. But I had to do this. We don't know how much time we have left here. And I've had many friends that have passed who that I myself want to just keep, you know, putting out material as long as I can. Um,
Justine's also a Michigander. Is that how you would say it? A
yeah,
Michigan.
a
She's
Michigander.
also from Detroit.
Yes, Detroit area. I think
Yeah.
originally Pontiac, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, and it turned out great. I would have loved to have had her with me, but I took her, some great notes, like the time signature and just the overall feel for the song. It's in a different key. I think it's an A sharp for me. It was just better for my voice, but it's such a beautiful song. It's only four chords. The people that wrote this were genius, and yeah, it turned out phenomenal. It turned out great.
I've got a lot of background actually on this song that I want to bring up because I love the song. Barry Mann and Larry Colber wrote it. Now I found some of this on Wikipedia. I imagine it's accurate. Colber wrote the lyrics on a restaurant napkin in 5 minutes. That's what it said.
Oh,
Now,
how beautiful!
The
Wow.
Paris Sisters, 1961. Of course, Phil Spector. I mean, I know Phil Spector ended his life in a bad way, but it's hard to ignore the amazing work that he did when he was alive.
Right.
Uh, originally, the song was supposed to be recorded by Tony Orlando, but Phil Spector thought the song would be better with a female vocal. He was
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
He's
for
right
sure.
again because now you do a great job on it. It's considered one of the greatest girl group songs ever. There's tons of remakes. We have another one now. But did you know that Tom Jones and Brian Ferry from Roxy Music covered it?
Did they? I
Yes.
must admit that.
And
Somebody else did a version.
oh, it's a
Was it
long list.
Yeah, it
I,
wasn't Glenn Campbell, was it? Like, but they did like they did it in a different key too, but it was like a 70s version. I can't remember. There's so many. I think the Ravenettes
yeah,
did one last
it
year.
just came out. It just came out on this
Wow,
compilation that they did it, but their version's nothing like your version, you know? I
that's
mean,
great.
you did a tr more traditional recording. They did like their own kind of like what whenever they cover something, it's pretty wild. They're a wild band.
Yeah.
But I think that was everything I had here. It was a hit for Bobby Vinton also in
That's
the
who I'm
late
thinking of.
60s.
Bobby Vinton. Yes, I like
Yeah.
his version too.
Yeah, he made a real hit of it. So Phil Spector wasn't 100% correct that he thought only a woman could sing the song because Bobby
Sure.
Vinton had a hit with it. So the song is like the minute that I looked at the title, I didn't know it was a cover, but 5 seconds into the song, oh, she's covering it. I was like, great, and you did an amazing job. of it.
Thank
You
you.
did, you know, what's really funny is I'm not a talked about this on the show. I actually don't have the greatest relationship with this guy anymore. We were close, but we're not. I'm talking about little Steven Van Zandt. But one thing I do remember working with Van Zandt when the Charms went in the studio in Q Division here, I think it was 2003, and they covered Frosty the Snowman. And little
Ah,
Steven says to me, tell him to, you know, he talked, tell him to do it like, you know, like Ronnie Spector did it, you know. So I told Ellie that, and Ellie V can was in a Brenda Lee cover band, so she totally gets that whole vibe. And
sure.
they did a version of Frosty, and they did it like Phil Spector would have done it. So
Oh,
I'm a big fan of taking those girl group bands, redoing some of their songs, or just listening to them because
yeah.
there's so many great girl groups that
Yes.
it's just incredible, you know? And
Yeah.
so Justine was also a fan of the girl groups.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when she, approached me to do this, I was just like, whoa, yeah. I just couldn't believe my great fortune. I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to do, something of this caliber. Um, and I've my whole life I've been writing my own songs, but the last couple of tunes just kind of covering other people's material, I've really enjoyed doing this and putting my own spin or flavor on it, it's and I do it up. I don't do it half-assed.
You
I
don't. Little Dreamer is a cover too. Angela Correa and Daniel Long. I was going to ask you what their story was because did they do a lot of songwriting?
They're a little bit more obscure to me. They've done some songs for TV and movies. I think she has her own band and he's a songwriter. I think he was in a band in the early aughts. I just can't
How'd you find the track?
well, I was watching the series Wednesday. Do you remember when that was out?
I didn't watch it yet, but I have to watch it. I do. It's a couple
Okay.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was great. So there's a scene where Wednesday and her date are driving up to the prom, right? And the prom, where they dance to the Cramps, they kind of brought that Cramp
Yeah.
song
Yeah.
back,
Yeah. Yeah.
like a new generation. So before that scene was them driving in the car, and a beautiful ethereal melody and synth line just caught my ear. And I'm like, who is this? Oh my God, who is this? I was thinking it was like Angelo Badalamenti. But I can't pronounce his name.
Bandolini. I'm not going to try because I can't pronounce anything.
Yes, I'm really, really embarrassed. I can't. But and David Lynch, I'm just from that school. I love Julie Cruz is my favorite singer of all time.
Wow.
So I heard this and I said, "Who is this? Who is it?" And I found out it was an obscure band I had never heard of called Some Birthday Girls, and they're from LA. So they do mostly TV and movie stuff, and include Angela and Daniel. They play the instruments and sing. Um, and I found that song that was on the Wednesday soundtrack. It was called Secrets. And if you can look it up, you should. It's beautiful. But I dug in a little deeper to see what else they did, which is they don't have a lot out there. And I found Little Dreamer, and it was the 60s, the early girl group, but it was more modern, but still it had that retro feel, and her voice is just killer. And I'm like, I got to do this. I have to see what I can do. So I did a demo here at the Compound Studios, and I got my musicians lined up, and we went in and did that when we did Be a Do. So
Wow.
yeah, and just those last two songs have been really so special to me, and it's got to be really, really special, for me to do a cover. My my rule in Tiger Bomb is no covers. No covers. We write all our own stuff. So that's what
Um,
it came about.
and,
Yeah.
and Lou and what about Lou? How did Lou get involved in all this?
I love Lou. Well,
Rumbar, we're talking about Lou from Rumbar Records, if
Rumbar
people
Records.
don't know.
Yes. Well, ran into Lou at some shows, down in Boston. But we never really had a working relationship. So I approached him and I said, look, I have this song that I did for Justine. I don't mind putting out, my own stuff, which, I love to promote and get my stuff out, but it needs more of an audience. I need a little help, to put this out there. And he wrote me right back and said, Lynda, I would be honored to work with you on this project. And hey, I love your last two singles. Let's do this as a maxi single. And I said, yes.
A
So,
maxi
um,
single. Only Lou would say, let's do a maxi single. It's
yeah,
1989 again. Let's do a maxi single.
I love it. I
When I
love
got the message from him, I cracked up. First of all, I'm
it.
talking on the phone. He goes, do you know who Lynda Mandolyn is? I'm like, yeah, of course I do, dude. He goes, would you have her on your show again? I'm like, come on, Lou, what do
Oh,
you think?
yeah. Yes. He's the best. So,
And then he's like, we're doing a maxi single. I'm like, a maxi single? What is it, Madonna coming back?
I
Because all those,
know.
it was the 80s. The maxi singles were popular then.
Sure. Yep. Right up my alley. But yeah, so we've been talking on the phone and just, um we have great conversations and we know a lot of the same people like on the West Coast and through Fat Records. He knew a lot of the staff there and I think he worked at oh God, I don't want to screw it up.
Do you
It
know
was
Fat Mike?
me?
Yeah.
Yes, he
And
was my boss.
oh, that's right. You used to work there, didn't you? I just had a band on a few shows ago.
My
The
band was
last
on the label, Steve. My band was on Fat Records.
Fabulous
Yeah,
Disaster. Oh, yeah.
yes,
Excuse me, but you've been in a lot of bands.
I know.
I should have your discography in front of me when I talk to you. Fabulous Disaster. I'm sorry, I knew that. I had a band, The Last Gang, on not too long ago that I saw. I
Oh, I've
was
heard that.
when
Yeah,
I went to California, I went to the one of the last No FX shows, the Punk in Drublic, and I
yes.
saw this band, The Last Gang, and I loved them. And they found out they were Fat Wreck, so I talked to someone at Fat Wreck, and I got them on my show. I do remember that you were on Fat Wreck. I'm sorry, I had a little mental. That was a long time ago.
It was. Yeah,
Oh,
early
maybe not
aughts.
that long ago. Two,
Early aughts.
yeah.
And so it was also part of a label that they made, well, in the early aughts. And it was sort of like more, I don't want to say it, female focused. So that was called Pink and Black. So that was like a subsidiary of Fat, which we were on to. And Dance Hall Crashers were on there. A band called the Flip Sides. I mean, he had, you know,
Flipside's a cool band.
yeah,
They're San
yeah,
Francisco also?
yeah, the three
Yeah.
piece. So we're talking about the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They were a long time ago. They were great people. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know. They dropped off the face of the earth.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you and Lou might have met, at shows or something because you guys have both been on the scene with, the garage rock scene.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I mean, we would see each other at some shows like in Boston, but nothing, no it was more an acquaintance, right?
Right.
So, I really thought this was important and I wanted to get it out there and I love Rumbar. And so it happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when is the single actually being released? Is it this month?
Yes, it will come out December 6th. So this Friday it's coming out.
Oh,
And I think one of the best parts of the single is the artwork, which was done by Nicole Anguish. And it's so cute. It's the three of us on the cover. So it's me and Justine, and she has a little halo on her head, and Shauna, who's the blonde. And so I kind of wanted to mimic the pair of sisters in a way, the sisters singing, right? So we did that, and it turned out so adorable. And she's such a great graphic artist,
how did you know Nicole? Did you track her down to do this?
I worked with her previously on a poster. for it was when Stupidity played with us like around Halloween a couple years ago, and she did this great poster for us. And so I wanted her to do the artwork for this one, and she did. It was great.
Well, do you have any plans to like play any of to go out, play out and do these songs?
I might. Yeah. Lou and I were talking about that. Just to get a little like opening show in Boston or up here in Portland. Um, and I don't mind doing, like I've played acoustic before and solo before. I'm a little,
We've done it all.
yeah, a little wet around the ears, but I'm practicing and trying to get my chops up. So, but I'm still real busy with Tiger Bomb and Crystal Canyon we're going to start writing our fourth record soon. So, Tiger Bomb still has the new songs coming, we're still writing and doing our thing.
I was ready to
So,
start belting Judy Moody.
yeah.
Did I ever ask you if Judy Moody was actually about a real person?
Um, I think so. It's not about a real person per se, but it is a real person's name. And
Really?
yeah, yeah. And
Great name.
I think she looked me up on Facebook because I saw her in people you might know. But I just loved her name so much. And I took that. But
No,
the
you did not tell this story. This is good. I never heard
oh,
this. You saw a name on Facebook and you used the name to write the
well,
song.
not on Facebook. It's a person who is an acquaintance, right? And I loved her name so much that uh, I used it as the title because like it was just so catchy. And when I start working on songs, sometimes the title will come to me. Like for instance, the last Crystal Canyon album. I sat down, I had a notebook, and within 5 minutes, I had all the titles to the songs before I even wrote the lyrics.
Wow.
And they fit. They just it's like they were meant to be. They came into the picture and then the rest of it followed. So sometimes I work like that. I don't know what it is.
I've never heard anyone you talk about their songwriting technique being like that before. That's interesting. Wow,
Yeah,
you every single song on the record.
just about.
Wow.
Yep. So I had met her a couple weeks prior and I'm like, oh God, do I love that name. But the song has nothing to do with her. It's about well, it's not generic, but it's I don't want to say stalking, but it's when the relationship gets a little too like like all right. Um in that
Been
respect.
there, I've
Right?
been there.
Yes. I think we all have. So, but Judy Moody just sounded so good to me, so good, and I needed a subject for this, the song, and I loved her name, and so it just went right in, and the softness of the vocal too against the grit of the music.
Oh,
I
that song is a masterpiece, if you ask me. It was in my, I think it was my number one song of
it was
2023 on my
it
top
was up
20.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
up
that's how much I love that song. I love Crystal Canyon. I love Tiger Bomb too. You have like, I always listen to Fabulous Disaster. That's why, what a dummy. You don't even remember what label they were on. But, I mean, that song that I think someone else sang the song, Rich Bitches and Volvos. Is that the name of the song?
there. Yeah, we wrote that.
Yeah, I love that
Yeah.
song. I just love, well, I know you guys wrote it, but you
Yeah.
didn't sing that one though, did you?
I did not sing lead. No,
Yeah.
Laura, Lear, our singer, did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the full title, Steve, is "Rich Bitches and Vovos Piss Me Off."
There you go. I've I've played that song a few times on various shows because I love it so much.
I love
See,
it.
that's the thing about you. You've got a very diverse and unique discography. Your discography is enormous, and you have a lot of different styles.
Yeah. Yes. And some people don't work that way, and I understand that. Like some people, just have. a certain genre they're comfortable in, which is great, which they love. I'm a fan of music. I love music, so I love putting together pop punk with shoegaze or garage rock. I love, garage rock, with the pop,
You
like
keep it separate though. If you took all these different songs and put them all on one record, it wouldn't make any sense. You have good separation ability. Like,
thank you.
Crystal Canyon in your solo stuff, it's just completely opposite. Tiger Bomb, no, it doesn't it's like we're talking
Right.
about different, and you're really good at that. You're really good at like separation.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, I think it's just too like just loving the genre. And I love one of my favorite genres is R&B soul. I would love to cover a Laura Lee song, like that's one of my dreams that you look her up. She is something else, man. Look up Rip Off by Laura Lee, 1972. If I could do that, I would.
I don't know if I've heard that track. Huh.
Ah, that whole album is great. Is
I'm
so
a
good.
big soul fan too. I mean, I like, the Temptation. I was listening to the Isley Brothers on vinyl the other day, and
Oh
their
yeah.
cover of Summer Breeze is probably the greatest cover of all time. Ernie Isley, the guitar player, is fantastic. I
Oh,
like all the Detroit Motown bands too, the soul and yeah. I could tell that you're all over the map as well as far as music goes. Is there anything you've heard lately that you really is catching your ear?
I love a band from I think they're from LA. They're called La Luz.
Oh yeah, they're real good.
Ah,
Yeah.
God, their latest album just I'm like, woo, that's the next level, man. That's like, wow. And she's got a whole new lineup, and this lineup just is stellar and put them like on a new trajectory, of just beautiful harmony and synth and, a beat and a great bass player. Just together, they were just incredible. I saw them at Boston in Boston at the Brighton Music Hall, and they just blew me away.
Did they draw well there?
Yes, yes, and they had a girl opening for them called a girl, um, a artist named Amy. What was her name? Amy Joy, not Amy Joy. Is it Amy Joy? And she was kind of her band was a little more shoegazy and quiet, but it fit. It fit them really well. And then I just learned that La Luz toured the West Coast, and they had that band who I love, Telenovela.
Oh,
They
okay.
they're so good. Oh
So
man.
you're really keeping up with the newer stuff that's coming out. That's awesome.
There's a lot of women out there that are really
Women have taken over.
yeah, they're
They
making
have.
great music because I can't stand to listen to auto-tune country. That seems like it's everywhere. I don't understand it. Country music, crappy country music has taken over this country. Well, I think we know why. But it's just I can't take it. So I lose myself in the good stuff that is here, that is
I,
coming out.
I can't remember if it was we were talking about the Lions game, but this country woman came out and did a halftime show. It was
Oh,
horrible.
that was Shabuzi,
No,
right?
no, it must have been a different game. I can't remember.
Oh,
I can't remember the woman's name. It's the same old
yeah.
country, modern pop country rubbish. I
Auto
cannot
tune.
take
Auto
it. I
tune.
can't stand it. It's
Yeah.
just so I like that you're into more indie and more alternative. We can start using that word again, alternative, right?
Yeah.
Lalouse is a band that's been around for a few years because I remember it was actually Nicole we were talking about earlier from the Love Me Nots that actually turned me on to them because she wanted to play with them. This was like, so that must have been around 2018,
Okay.
17, 16, 17 that they were around. But
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
that's cool.
Yeah, they're great. So yeah, Telenovelas. Oh, I love the Corettes. You know the Corettes?
Corettes, yeah.
Ooh, yeah. Dynamite. Dynamite.
Didn't Tiger Bomb just do a show with a couple of bands that were touring recently?
We did, yes. They came up,
Cocktail Slippers, was it?
yeah, Cocktail Slippers and Stupidity.
How did
It
that show go? That was in Portland?
was great. Yeah, it was really good. Great turnout. We were at Bayside Bowl. Um, all bands were great. Muck and the Myers played. I mean, like it was a fun.
It's always great when Muck and the Myers there. Pete's my boy, man. I love the whole band, but Pete and I have been friends for a long time. The lead guitar player. I'm your man, Pete.
Yes, yes. But in the band, he's Pedro, right?
Yeah, Pedro. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had that nickname for a while though, Pedro, but he was
Pedro.
in a great band called the Ape Hangers that I thought were one of the best band. I'm not just saying that because I managed them, but they were a great band. They were around the late 90s. They were actually on A&M Records, and after they were in LA, they were from here, moved to LA, put a record out, ended up getting dropped, moved back here right when I moved back here on 98. And we worked together and I love those guys. Dennis McCarthy, the drummer, was in the Prime Movers, which were like a
Okay.
big Boston band in the 80s,
Okay.
garage rock.
Right. A little before my time, or I wasn't in Boston then, but yes, I've heard the name. And a funny story when we first met Muck and the Myers, I think we were playing uh Haverhill.
Haverhill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At this place called the Chit Chat. And
Yeah.
they came in and Pedro said, Man, I was just walking in. I think he smoked a little bit before he came in.
It
And
sounds
then
like him.
and then he said, Man, I came in before I even saw Tiger Bomb on stage, and I'm like, damn, they sound like ELO. Like the harmonies. I'm like, that is a compliment. I'll take it.
I love Pete, man. He's the coolest. He
He
really
is.
is.
He
They've
plays the
been
Vox. I love it. I love his Vox
they've
guitar.
incorporated more and more of the his songs into their set too, which is great because if you listen to Your Man and you listen to the Ape Hangers version of it's great, but then when you listen to the Muck version and Evan Muck is doing
Yeah.
the background vocals, it's like, whoa, it sounds amazing with him doing the background
Yeah.
vocals. It's just
Yes. Yeah.
he
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
He knew, and he recruited them. They have a history, those guys. But Lynda, I love talking to you. We could talk about anything forever. And
Oh,
I'm sorry I botched so many things today, but my brain is in slow mo, I think.
no, it's okay. No, I get it. And it's like 10, so it's like, you know.
Yeah. But
But
is there anything else you want to plug besides the single coming out next week? Excuse me, Lou, the maxi single?
the maxi single. So the maxi single will be out December 6th on Rumbar Records. Um, and please buy it. It's a beautiful tune. It's for a beautiful lady.
You can get
Uh,
it on Bandcamp, right?
you can get it on
Yeah.
Bandcamp. It'll be like on Spotify. It'll be on all the streamings. That's what I say. On December 6th. And I might do some shows, so look for me in that regard. Look for me next year with Tiger Bomb and Crystal
Crystal
Canyon
Canyon, record
Baby.
number 4.
Record number 4. Tiger Bomb is slated for record number 3 next year. And just a lot of good stuff going on. And I want to thank my band that played with me on this single, Shauna, Jessica, Kate, and Serge, and Alice, Todd for mixing. And I think we made something really special, and I'm really proud of it. And I hope people like it.
You did. Wow. I
Yeah.
can't say anything else. That was enough.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Lynda.
Thank you, Steve.
All righty.